Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am the Sapitri. I wanna share to you guys 3 material today. Focus on descriptive, narrative, and recount. First of all, 1. What is the descriptive tag? Descriptive tag is a type of tag in English that clearly describe the properties attached to something, be it human, animal, plant, or inanimate object. And the purpose of this tag is to provide readers with clear information about the objective fact and the characteristic of descriptive tag. Also, usually using simple present tense because we will describe the fact attached to an object, and the verb function is the simple present itself. It to show a fact or truth. Supposing you want to describe your bed, you can use the sentence, for example, the color of my bedroom is blue. And the characteristic of descriptive tag also use many adjectives. Sign the function of this tag is to provide information by describing an object described. In descriptive tag, there will be many adjectives. For example, a big, small, colorful, and so on. And use relating verb. Relating verb is a verb that explains the noun that is the subject of a sentence. For example, is, have, seem, appear, and other verbs. And continue. The narrative structure of descriptive tag. Descriptive tag has its own rule regarding its structure. And this following is the narrative structure descriptive tag. The first, identification. What is identification? Identification, the section located in the first paragraph. I am to identify an object that you want to describe. Identification serves to introduce the reader to the object we will describe before we tell about the more detail about the object in the next paragraph. And the second, what is description? Description, this section located in the second paragraph and so on, contain the properties inherent in something you have already introduced to the reader in the first paragraph. Okay, for now, we can go on to analyze the descriptive tag. Okay, and I want to explain descriptive tag is provide information about the object being described, namely gender, regency. Apart from that, the tag also has a structure and characteristics in accordance with the structure and characteristics possessed by the descriptive tag. Okay, and we can looking for use the simple present tense. Okay, and simple present tense this here is Jember is a regency in is siapa, siapa. And 2, Jember has a total area. of you count like this. And also descriptive text using adjective. Okay, we can looking for interesting, near, beautiful, and unique. And using relative verb like is and is. For now, we can look at identification. Okay, identification of this text is first paragraph. This section introduces reader to Jamboree's regency, which we will explain in detail in the next step. Okay, and description. We can looking second paragraph. Content and explanation or description of Jamboree regency by presenting some information such as Kabupaten Jember has good place. Okay, and good place, and he has culture. The culture colored is a Panghalungan. Okay, and okay, enough. And this is analysis about descriptive text. Definition of narrative text in the language of this narrative text is actually taken from the Latin narrar, which means to tell or to tell you know. Meanwhile, according to Cambridge Dictionary, called narrative text is a story or description of a serious event. And that the point is narrative text, a kind of retelling used in words of an event that happened. Narrative is not the story, but the way of telling. Telling a story is called narrative. Number have the term written narrative, oral narrative, and other. Okay, and the characteristic of narrative text. Usually using the past tense because of its not narrative nature. The tenses used are of course relate to the past. How to understand tenses can be checked here, guide so that they are more stable. And using effort of time, for example, in the early, long time ago, last time, using a lot of time conjunction. For example, well, using dialogue. This is different from other text. It contains a lot of dialogue. It's not uncommon to also use interjection in dialogue. And B, the narrative structure narrative text. And call complication, orientation and resolution. Orientation. Have you ever read novel or short stories, guys? If ever, you should have understand that usually at the beginning of a novel or short stories, it's often with introduction to the character and the setting of place and time. Well, in the narrative text, it is also the same. Narrative text is often with an orientation paragraph. where the characteristic will be introduced, the setting for the place and time of the stories. And complication. Complication. This section is the place where the author writes the actual story content and interrelates even between a character and other character. A character with the time the plot was good and with the place where an event took place. This relation can also be called a conflict between characters, conflict with place and time, sometimes conflict with one step upside. And this conflict problem, how many types people of conflict can you apply if you are making narrative text? And physical conflict, and psychological conflict, natural conflict, and social conflict. And next, resolution. This section is the last part. Guys, can you guess what is content? Yeah, this section is where all conflict and those who are upside can kill themselves or can rise again. Those who live can die or be reconciled. Those who are dating can break up, and those who are single can get married and then have children, who have all grandchildren and die again. Okay, example of narrative text. The title is The Cat and the Fox. Okay, and we can analyze about narrative text. Okay, explanation. I want explanation. We using a grammatical review in the sentence. Okay, in the sentence, we use the has a continuous form in several conditions. Look at have, having, and we are having a conversation. And the let and gain even has an example explain beside an activity that is happening. Activities to do plan, and last relative pronoun. A pronoun whose function is to connect sentence. Explain on the insight come from the sentence. The pork buster out clunker creature the step how the topic was, and it's define clause, independent clause, and main clause, and define clause. 3. What is the recount text? 3. Recount text is a type of text in English that tell about a story, action, or activity. Usually, recount text tells about a person's experience, and the purpose of the text recount is to entertain the reader, so that there is no conflict in this text. In addition, this text also aims to provide information to the reader. And the characteristic of the recount text. Usually using passive voice, pronoun, and use past tense of sentence, such as when, the verb would, look up, and so on. And also use adverb and adverbial phrase to reveal time, place and way. For example, last September, Fairy Island, and use conjunction and time connected to sub-event or event such as and, before, then, after, that, and so on. B. Generative structure of recontact. And this is a 2-point orientation, event, reorientation. 1. Orientation tells you about the background information about who, where, when, to incident or event occurred. Event tell a series of events that occur in chronological order. And reorientation, it is the conclusion or conclusion of the story. To close a story, we can give our opinion on the story. This is example of RECOUNT. The title is My First Trip to Fairy Island, and this is the characteristic of RECOUNT using the past tense, adverb and adverbial phrase, conjunction, and time connected. Okay, the first we can check and we can looking for past tense. I went, and this is this. We did, and we decide, we spend, and it's a past tense. It's a past tense in the text. Using adverb and adverbial phrase, last September and Fairy Island, on the second day, etc. Okay, and conjunction and time connected. And after that, okay, enough. For now, we can analyze orientation. Orientation in here, I went to Fairy Island for a holiday. I went there with Sarah, Andy, Evelyn, and Yoko. And for event, I departed from Muara Angke. Okay, and we went to our guest house. That was friends bicycle. We did snorkeling there. And the last, reorientation. Reorientation in here is summary. In summary, my first trip to Fairy Island was enjoyable. So, it's like conclusion or summary. Yeah, like that. Okay, the last season, I wanna say thank you for your watching this video, and I have done to explain of 3 material. It's a narrative text, descriptive text, recount text, and I say Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.